Good afternoon, Lake Wales. This is Catherine Price, a born curious little lady. And this is Charlene Bennett, one of the three wickedly powerful little ladies. And
Yeah,
this is our 17th,
I
three
know.
little ladies. We're doing it
Yeah.
on.
Unfortunately, we're missing our third little lady, Juanita. Juanita is sick and she just didn't feel up to meeting with us today. So she says hello to everybody.
Today is Monday, August 5th, and we're going to start out. Well, first of all, I noticed that there's kind of a little stock market crash going on right now.
How about that?
Yeah, I mean, I hope that things go well, but you never know. And we were talking about, just sometimes people that do risky financial things, in good times, people that are conservative look kind of foolish and bad, but when things go bad, sometimes they start to look wiser and smarter. And so I feel like sometimes we're shouting into the, what do they call it? Shouting into the wind a little bit with some of the stuff we're talking about for our city. But I think in some ways we are just represent a more conservative and cautious approach to a lot of what's going on.
Are you thinking specifically of water?
Well, I named this segment "Get Smart, Lake Wales: Water, Water, Water." And so, what do you think we should talk about today, Charlene?
Well, I think we should talk about several things. I think maybe we should just do a little quick catch up on that real estate foundation thing that we talked about last time to make sure that people understood about that. Basically, that was
well. Let's start first. I think we need to kind of Monday. I mean, tomorrow is our city commission meeting at 6:00.
Right.
And if people want to pull the agenda for that meeting, you can go on to the city website. I know sometimes it's a little difficult when you haven't ever done it before, but you go to the agenda section and then you can get rid of all the other agendas and just get the city commission agenda with some little things you hit. And then you can also, there's like hot links on those things where you can pull up those items. This is like a little civics lesson. And so
those little things that are in blue, underlined in blue, that you can click on and get more information about the topic under consideration.
Right. It's the documents that are actually in the city commissioner's packet. You can also download the packet, but I tried that today and it was 302 pages.
Yeah.
So it's not such a smart idea.
No.
So I went back and I'm like, okay, we'll just click on the hyperlink to the document I'm interested in. So go back, and you were saying I think we wanted to talk about waters, CDDs, and you want to talk about that real estate foundation. Some of these people, we need to caption it for them. That was something that was brought up at the, I think it was July 9th, Planning and Zoning Board meeting.
No, it was at the CRA.
CRA.
Real Estate Foundation was CRA. Yes, that's a Lakeland or a Tampa organization that was wanting to get some financial help and 3 lots donated to them by the CRA so that they could enhance them and provide affordable housing for 3 families in the Northwest area.
Well, and the CRA is the Community Redevelopment Agency.
Yes.
It is a little bit of a standalone organization, but our 5 city commissioners are also the board for the CRA. So, and they're making decisions about these community redevelopment districts. So it's supposed to be like areas that are blighted that we're trying to improve. And so this company, the Real Estate Foundation, also known as Lexmark Realty,
Land. I think it's
Lexland. You're right. LEXLAND, Lexland Realty, came to our CRA asking for 3 lots that the city owns. And
yes, and apparently, there's some questionable things about the Real Estate Foundation. If you look at their website, you can see some of the things that would raise questions in your mind. And as I understand it, a citizen helped James Slayton, the city manager, to understand that there might be problems with this corporation, that it needed to be looked into further. And therefore, Mr. Slayton asked the commission to please table it at that meeting because he wanted to do further due diligence on it. Now, so we haven't heard anything about it since, but there hasn't been another CRA meeting yet either. We do know that one of the 3 lots in question was later transferred from the city commission to the CRA so that they could let someone else develop it. So, I mean, that's kind of the last that we know of it. And what we just want to keep our eyes out for whether or not it resurfaces at the next CRA meeting, which will be in another week or 10 days.
Well, this is civics in action, where citizens come to the city commissioners and the city staff and say, hey, did you know we found out XYZ? And you think that doesn't affect things, but it really does. And the impact of citizen involvement cannot be understated, the importance of it. An interesting exercise actually is, I had a little difficulty finding the Real Estate Foundation, but you can go to Facebook and look up the Real Estate Foundation, and then it has Lexland Realty. You can see that Facebook page, and it is instructive just to look at the Facebook page of that organization to see what you think.
And I think if you Google Real Estate Foundation, you need to put in Tampa because there's another one in Georgia somewhere or something. You got to get the right one.
Yeah. So also apparently the Real Estate Foundation had a Bible study at our local BizLink business incubator on August 1st, which was well attended according to someone that lives near there. And that's interesting. The BizLink, we're still waiting for the second audit, which is for the second year of that business incubator. And I think there will be some interesting things that we can talk about at that time relative to that business incubator.
Yeah.
One of the things that, I'm concerned about is the fact that, this is in the Northwest area. And I don't want there to be the perception that we are not interested in economic development and affordable housing for people that live there. The truth of the matter is that we're very interested in that and want to make sure that dollars that our city is spending are being spent to help the citizens of this city and not some people that are coming in here from other places to basically try to make a killing on our municipal funds.
Yes, that's an important point.
Yes. And so then we wanted to go on and talk about some other kind of interesting things. Let's talk about what's going to happen at City Commission on Tuesday, Charlene. There wasn't a lot of stuff that I was extremely concerned about, but there was an item about this thing called Ridgecrest. I guess it's Ridgecrest. It's a development. Let's see. I was looking at how many acres is that. I didn't find out, but I don't think it's huge. Wait a minute. Let me see. Better than a certain CDD. Ridgecrest is 312 acre development. It's supposed to take. Do you know the exact location? It's on 27 somewhere.
I thought it was north of Masterpiece Road.
It is, but it's on Highway 27, I think.
Is it? Okay. I honestly don't remember. I remember the Masterpiece Road part of it, but I can't remember what other roads it intersects with. But anyway. It's good ways north of the city, or
Right.
the northern part of the city. And I know that when I was on the Planning and Zoning Board, I voted against it. And I know that Robin Gibson voted against it also at that same time when he was on the commission. And we were concerned about urban sprawl, that was essentially a good example of urban sprawl. But now it's come back. It eventually got approved because there weren't enough of us voting against it in either entity. Now, what it's on the agenda for Tuesday night is an update of the CDD part of it.
I don't think it's an update. I don't think they got it before, right?
Well, no, you're right. They didn't get it, but they went back to the drawing board and rewrote the CDD thing somehow. And so now they've come back with this newest version of the CDD proposal. CDD meaning Community Development District. A community development district is a special taxing district which is considered a legal unit, governmental unit of its own. And the biggest example of one of those in Florida is the Reedy Creek district that manages Disney World. And then there's the villages that has like 19 CDDs. And it's a legally complex situation. I'm going to close my door here because there's some workmen here that are making some noise.
Yeah, I hear them.
You go ahead, pick up. Yeah. Yeah. So the CDD is a legal entity that gets created by the developer and then eventually becomes owned by the homeowners, and it requires an assessment or a fee to be paid by homeowners for anywhere from 15 to 30 years, depending on how they write it up. You want to pick up at this point some, Catherine?
Well, basically, it's a standalone kind of way that these developers use to finance infrastructure for their development.
It's considered a unit of local government. Yeah, it is.
It is like a local government. The problem is it's for things like roads and other things. I was gonna put up a copy of what the page in our city commission agenda where it shows that what they're what they're talking about here. Let me see if I can find it here. It's kind of, I can't. I'm learning how to share on this screen. So can you see that? What I'm looking at right now?
I can see it, but I can't read it.
Okay, well, I'm looking for this. I just pulled it up. Let me see if I can find it here. I got too many tabs up. I had it up just a minute ago.
Yeah. It is possible for anybody watching to enlarge it using their fingers so you can.
No, wait a minute. Let me find it first because I had it just a second ago. Here it is. Okay, can you see that? Let me see if I can enlarge that.
It didn't change. It didn't change on my screen.
Okay, let me go back and look where we're at. Look and see what you can see. Oh, that's not good. Okay, let me try one more time. Stop screen. Okay, let's try it one more time. Present. I've done it lots on, I've done it a lot on window. Let's see, window. No, I want entire screen. Let's try this. I'm going to try
now, right now, you just have an enlargement of me.
Yeah, I hear. Just one second. Let me try this here. I had it right just a second ago. That's not it. I may have to give up on this.
Yeah, maybe we should just move
we're
on.
kind of low tech here. Can you see that now?
No. Why don't you just describe it?
Well, it's hard for me to describe. It's like this is a list of all the things that are included in this CDD for being paid for by the city of Lake Wales.
Yeah.
And it's like it includes like $52 million worth of stuff. But hold on one more time. I'm going to try it. Yikes. Okay, let me get back to where you are. I got to find you first. You see what I'm seeing? I can't see what you're seeing here.
Oh, they're only seeing me.
Okay, here we go. You see everything right now, right?
Yes.
Okay, one more time. Let's try it one more time. Can you see that?
Yes. You have to kind of move it over to the middle of the screen and maybe enlarge it a little bit. Whoops. Now, okay. So table.
Yeah, it's so big. You know what? I'm going to have to stop this because it's not working.
Yeah.
But and I'm sorry. I apologize for all that. But it's like it's on the page. It's page 8 on this agenda item.
Yeah.
It's I'll just describe what it is. It says what the city will include in this CDD, and it's a huge amount of stuff. Like they're talking about the stormwater facilities, they're talking about utilities, they're talking about electrical and street lighting, roadway and parking areas, entry signage and landscaping, park and recreational facilities. Now, some of these things, when the CDD pays for them, remain with the CDD. However, when the CDD does the offsite improvements like road improvements and stuff like that, it goes over to the Florida Department of Transportation in the city of Lake Wales. When they do the utilities, the CDD does the funding, but the city of Lake Wales owns them. When they do the electrical and street lighting, Duke Power is partial owner with the CDD. Just for a little bit of context, the utilities, which the city will actually own, but the CDD pays for, is $13 million worth of stuff. And the total for the entire development is $52 million worth of infrastructure. Mm-hmm. Now, if they didn't do this within the confines of a CDD, that is money that this developer would probably have to come up with in some way, and some of it would be paid for by impact fees for the city.
Yeah, and the old way is that the developer would have had to decide which things he was going to add on. I mean, he has to do the streets and the sewers, and he has to do certain things. But there are other things that he doesn't have to do, like pools and golf courses and clubhouses. And he can decide he can put all this stuff into CDDs, and he doesn't have to put up the money to do it because he goes to the city and he gets a bond, and that takes care of the initial investment. And then for the first 5 years, the developer has to manage that CDD, has to appoint a board and manage it. And then after that, the citizens, the homeowners, take over, and they're the ones that manage it. But for this entire time, it's the homeowners that are paying for it.
Well, the problem is, whenever we talk about these CDDs at the city commission meetings, my husband David and I have both brought up the fact that we believe that there's a certain element of risk for the. Do you want to put your screen a little bit closer, because you're kind of at the bottom of your screen? Can you pull your computer a little bit closer?
Yeah. Okay.
That we're amateurs at this, right? So, we've talked about the fact that we feel that there's a certain element of risk for the taxpayers in these CDDs. And certainly when there was a big downturn in real estate back in 2008 and 2009, there was an uptick in the number of these CDDs that became bankrupt or went into some severe financial problems. Mm-hmm. So I've been reading about the CDDs, And I found kind of an interesting article about them that I wanted to kind of quote from. It was, in Florida, like there's this idea that there's no risk to the homeowners, but this article basically states that there's these taxing districts, and it says they encourage suburban overbuilding during boom times because they make it possible to finance infrastructure at breathtaking scales without the developer being forced to pay for them. It says without them, developers might be forced to proceed more cautiously and incrementally. It also goes on to talk about the fact that there is this concept that local government is off the hook. But the truth is that local government bears risk too, because when people, when there's a problem with the streets being paved, or the street lights go out, or the water system is not working correctly, or it wasn't implemented or built correctly, and suddenly the CDD goes bankrupt, then is the city just going to let those citizens of the city languish? Maybe their sewers aren't working correctly, or something that actually presents a public health risk. And there is some information that in the 2008-2009 downturn, that there was even discussion at the state level of bailing out some of these CDDs. So it's not like there is no risk to the citizens of Lake Wales or to the taxpayers of our community.
Yeah. And you know what? Everything I read suggested that it is more expensive to the homeowner in the long run to go the CDD route, because developer doesn't have any incentive to keep costs at a minimum. They can just do whatever they want, and that costs will be run up that way. The other thing is that people buying into a CDD don't know usually is a CDD can be sued and can sue. And if something like that happens, and it does from time to time, there are all kinds of legal costs, and that adds to the homeowner's fee that they have to pay on that. And another thing that probably nobody ever tells them is that CDDs cost money for the taxpayers in general, because the tax appraiser is the tax collector is the one who has to collect the money for these, but this part of their taxes is not tax deductible like their regular taxes, and that it costs money, maybe adding new personnel for the tax collector to do that, and also the tax collector then has to start processing liens and foreclosures and whatever if there are homeowners that can't pay their fees, which happens.
Well, and there's particular danger at a time like this where the cost of real estate has been high and there's probably somewhat of a bubble, and then it pops and land values drop. The financial incentives of a lot of these things change. And this is how you see some of these subdivisions where you've got these massive subdivisions that are halfway built, or a third built, or a fourth built, and then the companies go defunct because the property values have dropped so drastically.
Yes,
So
and
we're in a period of particular danger right now.
Yeah, in the material that I read, which was written a little further back, of several years after that, the 2008 financial housing crisis, it said that 40% of Florida's CDDs were in some kind of financial distress.
Yeah, at that
and
time.
when there's financial distress, then there's extra cost, and it's hard. It's hard for homeowners to survive that kind of thing.
Well, and generally in the past, you would think of these CDDs being used in very large subdivisions, 1,000 acres, maybe even 5,000 acre projects, big projects. This is a 312 acre project. And basically what these guys are doing is using this to leverage their money so that they don't have to spend their own money and their own capital to get these projects off the ground. This is a 300 and I think it's 312 acre project. So this is a very small project for this type of a thing to be utilized for. So there's a lot of kind of iffy stuff with these CDDs. Also, I know there's a lot of people that complain about them at Lake Ashton. Some of the people I talked to said that they pay as much in their CDD as they do in their city or in their county taxes, property taxes.
Mm-hmm.
And, when they find out how much money we in the city are paying for their taxes, they're horrified because they're paying literally sometimes double what we're paying for our taxes.
Yes. Yeah.
So anyway, it's a lot going on there. Also, we wanted to talk a little bit real quick about that. On July 6th at 5 o'clock, before the city commission meeting, we had asked for a water town hall, but we got a water informational session.
It was July 16th. Yeah.
I'm sorry, July 16th.
And it was only an hour.
Yeah, it was an hour, but it was an informative hour.
Yes.
And we appreciated it.
Yes.
And it included, you want to talk about who was there?
Well, the main two presenters were Eric DeHaven of the Polk
Regional Water Initiative.
Polk Regional Water Cooperative
Initiative.
No, isn't it cooperative? I think
anyway, it's all right. Whatever it is, we know what we're talking about.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. And the other one was that Doyle Hanner Engineering Group from Orlando that Lake Wales has been using over several years now to do an assessment of our current water situation and make a report on it. So they had an updated report for us. And we've got a lot of good information at that meeting, I have to say. Primarily because SwiftMud, which is Southwest Florida Water Management District, because they changed the rules, you might say, that by which they make projections about when we might run out of our projected water needs. And so that means that they're saying now that based on that, and maybe the fact that there's some reduced development or reduced building going on, that our water is going to last longer than they told us it was a couple of years ago when they did their previous report. And, I think it's great that may be true, but I'm not really sure that it is. One thing that I always think about in this situation is that we aren't the only people digging into these two aquifers, the upper and the lower. The whole state of Florida almost is. I don't think Jacksonville does, but much of Florida uses the upper Florida aquifer and are going to be eventually digging into the lower one. So we have all this competition across the state for water. So I'm not sure how anybody can say for sure how long our water situation is going to last before we have to be getting more water from that lower aquifer. And that's expensive.
Well, the thing is, about a year ago, I think it was called Doyle and Tanner, which are these consultants, they came forward and said, with the rate of development that we're doing right now, we only had a couple of years before we hit the wall on our permitted water allocation. And also, I guess SwiftMud, which is the regional water, the people that regulate how much water you can pull out of the ground in our area, they had promulgated a new rule that said that in 2025 that we were going to be capped at the amount of water that we were currently pulling out of the aquifer. Well, Lake Wales had not reached our current permitted amount. I didn't think that was really fair to Lake Wales because some of these people have already shot, like Haines City, some of these places have already shot past their allocation. But we've been lagging because development has been slower down here. Well, but in the last several years, our city commission has approved over 15,000 housing units. And if all of these housing units came on board right now, we would not have enough water. And we also know that the only place that we could get more water is probably this Polk Regional Water Initiative. They're already digging these wells out on Lake Walking Water east of Lake Wales. That water could be potentially 10 times more expensive than our current water that we're utilizing. So every drop of additional water that is pulled out of the ground in Lake Wales is going to cost us more and more, to the point that it may be, my water bill right now in Lake Wales exceeds my electric bill already because I irrigate some. So the point is, some of our city commissioners felt that this was such an optimistic report that instead of 2 years, we had till 2032 before we run out of our permitted water. Well, I mean, it is good news on one sense, but right now we're in what I would call a real estate recession. They have not called it that yet, but building is very low. And so they projected our rate of using the water lower than they did 2 years ago. But if that changes, we could be much quicker than 2032 running out of our permitted water. And then we're going into trying to find, and we're not a member of the Polk Regional Water Initiative yet, much more expensive water.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and I think one thing we should note is that people surrounding us, communities surrounding us, are starting to raise questions about water also, not just us. We know that Dundee is considering putting a moratorium on all new building because they're
for a year.
Yeah, for their concerns about water. I saw that the mayor of Tampa recently said that he's concerned about their water situation in the future, and he wants that looked into. So it's a legitimate concern. I don't care what anybody says. It's a very legitimate concern about what may happen with regard to our water in the next several years. And nobody can say for sure. They can be hopeful, but they can't say for sure. So I really think that we need to help this city think in terms of a somewhat more cautious approach than what they've been, where they are right now. And that might include even getting more serious about some additional water conservation methods, because water conservation has to be practiced sooner or later at a better degree, no matter where you live on the planet.
Well, part of the problem, and we could get into that subject a lot quicker and a lot deeper about the future dangers to our water supply from a lot of things. But the thing is, I think one of the things we need to look at is that the state of Florida in the last few years has completely abandoned any type of planning around growth. And it's thrown it basically to these city commissions and municipalities and counties to try to control the growth within their areas. And the allure of quick development has overridden a lot of times any kind of common sense concerns about water and traffic and schools and a lot of other things. The reason that these cities are considering moratoriums is, I think Zephyr Hills may be as well, I've heard, is that if you can't discriminately slow down this development or that development. So if you just say I'm going to have a moratorium, then the different developers or developments can't say that you're picking them out and picking on them or differentially, and it protects you to a certain extent from litigation. So I personally think we're getting to a point in Lake Wales where we might consider a moratorium, because we've already approved way more houses than we have water to provide to them. And though this was a more optimistic water report that we received in the presentation at this water session, it is by no means a red light. I mean, a green light to just throw the doors open for future development.
Yes.
So with that in mind, I think we're at 34 minutes. We should
talk
quickly.
We've kind of talked ourselves to the end of our of things, I think, because of the time.
I wanted to mention one other thing that was talked about at the Planning and Zoning Board meeting this last time. It's something called the Lake Wales Commons. It's a 558 acre development that the city is going to talking about annexing this land and also going ahead with what they call it what do they call it? It's a development.
It's a PDMU, Plan Development Mixed Use, which means it's commercial, residential, and maybe light industrial.
It's like a city unto itself.
Exactly.
3,200 units on this 558 acre parcel. It's basically land speculation. It's out west of Lake Wales. If you go out past West Lake Wales, and then you go past some little industrial areas in the airport, and then you get out there and there's fields on either side of the road. It's the north side up there of Highway 60. Mm-hmm. And it's a guy from New Jersey. He's got an LLP called Lake Wales Commons. And his name is Moshe Goldschmidt. He's from New Jersey. He wants to take this 26 parcels that he's bundled into a 558 acre thing and get the city just to approve the whole thing in one meeting. Annexation, rezoning, and the development all together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's pretty crazy. And I know we've seen a picture of what it actually looks like, the boundaries of it. It is the weirdest looking thing. It's got like two major hubs and a little strip connecting them and all kinds, but it's not even boundaries in any sense whatsoever. There it is. That is the development. And
this is like little trailers and where people live on little farms and stuff. Yeah. And then this is like a little lake. And there's a lot in that 558 acres. There's a lot of wetland. Like you see all these areas, all of these are wetland areas. And they want 3,200 units in there on this crazy little piece of property that looks like almost like a donut with all these little farms and trailers and stuff in the middle of it.
And we don't even know if this man owns much of this land.
I think he owns parts of it, but part of it is not. He doesn't even own. It's just like these agreements with different landowners. And what he's doing is he's trying to. This is called land speculation in the most blatant form.
Yeah, it's a land grab kind of thing for one man to make a whole lot of money if it works. Regardless of whether or not it's at all useful or needed by our city. Now, let's tell everybody that it is not on the agenda for the commission tomorrow evening, but it will probably be there fairly soon unless something has happened that we don't know about. So people need to keep their eyes out for this one because it's a big deal.
Yeah. And it's like putting a little city out there west of Lake Wales in one single city commission meeting in,
Yeah.
So anyway, so many questions, so many, and we miss Juanita today.
Yeah.
Hope that she's feeling better. Hello to Lake Wales. We're still here. I've had several people say to me, have y'all given up on Three Little Ladies? But they did skip there was kind of like a little bit of a summer break they had there. And we're taking a little break too. We've kind of.
Well, yeah, we've all three of us have been on vacations and it's just been complicated lately.
Well, and it takes work to figure out this stuff, understand what's going on and then process what I think about some of this stuff, So, and I think there's some good things going on with the city too. Maybe one day we should have a very optimistic, one of the things I'm really excited about is some of the new horticultural, the plantings coming into the city that look so nice.
Yes.
And, so I'm really excited about that. And the downtown, hopefully some of that stuff is going to come together for us. So, anyway,
yes, there's several new establishments that are going to come online down in downtown Lake Wales, including a pub and a restaurant and 2 or 3 other things. So there's a lot to look forward to.
Yeah, and let's just hope the international, monetary markets don't sort of foil us at this as well. So
we'll keep our eye on that.
Yeah. So anyway,
Okay.
you have a great day. See you soon, Charlene.
Thank you. And hello, Juanita, wherever you are.
All right.